All right, so I want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Shadows Podcast. I'm your host, Trip Bodenheimer, and today I am excited to have Scott Ferguson join us here for the Shadows Podcast. He's a military veteran, spent some time in the Navy. He's also a managing director and host of the Time to Shine Today podcast. Scott, welcome to the Shadows.
What's going on, Bodie? How are you, brother?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited. We've been working on this for quite some time, so I'm excited to finally see this play itself out.
That's right, man. It's come to fruition. I've been waiting to get on here. I'm so privileged. Thanks for having me, bro.
Oh, absolutely. And how is life in sunny Florida right now?
It's actually raining today, but we need it, and that's okay. And yeah, but I was still nice, calm water on the paddleboard this morning, so I'm pretty stoked about that pretty much every day. Me and my pit bull Stitch, we head out on the paddleboard and kind of tool around the inlets here in Jupiter.
Nice. Well, me and my dog walked through some pollen this morning. So
there's a lot of that around, brother. I'll tell you that. So I welcome the rain because it's killing my allergies. This pollen that's in the air. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love when you get your car washed. You spend like $15 to go through a car wash and it comes out green. So before we get going with this episode and hear about your story, we've got some rapid fire questions to throw at you.
Let's do it.
Favorite book?
The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews.
Okay. Why that one?
Low point in my life, 2009. And it was handed to me by a friend, and it's a Christian author, wrote a book about a dude that his daughter's dying, lost his job, wants to end it all, runs his car into a tree in 1940. And give him hell. Harry Truman was there, and he goes through 7 different people with different gifts to help him level up. So like Harry Truman for responsibility, it was the day before he dropped the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then he goes to visit King Solomon for a little bit of wisdom, like Anne Frank to be happy, just on down line Abraham Lincoln, Gabriel the Archangel. So that's my go-to book. It's one I hand to people that are in their doldrums.
Nice. And I got the level up reference in there too as well.
See, baby.
If you could be one television character, who would you be?
I would be probably the Fall Guy, Lee Majors, from back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the Fall Guy, but he was a guy that Lee Majors was my. I take that back. $6 Million Man, Lee Majors.
That's what I was going to say. That. Yeah. I this has become a really popular question, and I've been asking a lot of our guests, and mine was Don Johnson, Miami Vice.
Miami Vice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I feel you.
Exactly. So we're showing our age, I guess, with our. I guess it's a good way to get somebody's age.
That's it, baby.
You can have
49.
dinner with 3 people, 3 historical figures who are no longer with us. Who'd you eat with?
Viktor Frankl, he was the author of The Man's Search for Meaning, wrote about the Holocaust, amazing survivor. I would say Kobe Bryant. I love to hate him because I was a Detroit Pistons fan. I loved him even before he passed away. He was a guy that I actually got to meet a couple times, and I'd love to have him at the dinner table. And, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, so I'd want Jesus there.
Nice. Okay. It's an interesting group right there.
Yeah, exactly. You got a Jew, a Christian, and then an African American. So it's like run the ball, but run it all across, bro.
I love this question because everybody has a different answer. Your definition of leadership.
Leadership, to me, is giving the opportunity to others to succeed, giving them in the game plan. Not doing it for them, but giving them the game plan to succeed, like a coach. Like the greatest coaches, obviously you got Belichick, Saban, and those coaches out there that they aren't out there passing the ball. They're not out there shooting the buckets. They're not on there in the wrestling mats. They're not that. They give you the game plan and they have to go implement it. So leadership will give the game plan in specific details, delegate what needs to be done, and get out there and expect them to execute.
Nice. Okay. And that was some of the best rapid fire we've had. Didn't have to do a lot of thinking. You were ready to go for those. All right. So now for our audience, tell us about Scott Ferguson's upbringing.
Yeah, man, it's a pretty cool story. I was offered by like Oprah Winfrey, Sally Jesse Raphael, Ricky Lake, Montel Williams back in the 90s for my story. It's very unique. I ended up being born in the Philippines in 1972. So I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 beginning of next year. And at the time, my father was an American GI, my mother was Filipino, and they, adulted, and I was made. And then I was told my father got killed in Vietnam. And at the time, mixed breed male babies, bastard children who didn't know their father, were frowned upon because I'm 6'1", 250-ish, and like they didn't want big men because the average Filipino male is like 5'6", 5'7", and like a $1.60, $1.40, $1.50, $1.60. And they were afraid that we'd physically take over the country back then. Okay. And so I was immediately adopted out to a family who was an Air Force family, had a couple kids of their own, and they started the adoption process with me. And they took me to America because the mother who was going to adopt me's father got sick. So we went back there on a temporary passport. Her father dies. She goes schizophrenic. They can't raise me. I end up in an orphanage for a couple of years. And I was a dark-skinned baby. If you're watching on here, you can see I'm not a white dude, and I was a dark-skinned. The Filipino comes out. Now, in 1972, 73, that was taboo for a white family to adopt a darker baby. So I kind of hung out for a while, and I'm blessed to have been adopted by who I call my dad and my late mother. And they started the adoption process. I had to become an American citizen. I moved to Detroit, Michigan. And we ended up, like, my dad was a Vietnam vet, really bad into drinking. He couldn't raise me. So then I was passed around to this huge, lack of a better term, hillbilly family. My whole family's from the South, cotton pickers, sharecroppers that moved to the industrial North. And because my dad couldn't raise me, I was shipped around to different families within the family, and nobody really made me fit in. And except for an uncle and aunt who did a great job of kind of raising me, very strict, fire and brimstone, a lot of Christian living in that house. And then eventually I went back to live with my dad after he cleaned up, and he's my best friend in the world, loved my dad, and ended up after that going, being pretty good in sports. Did not get a scholarship because the schools that were offering didn't like a 1.8 grade point average, so they're like, you're not coming here. So my dad's like, you're not living here, man. We didn't raise you to live anywhere for free. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I joined the world's greatest Navy, man, the world's finest Navy. And I built a family within the Navy through the discipline that they instilled, and ended up doing 6 deployments, 6 tours during 1990, 1997, and made friends to the very end, and we're still with the Facebook phenomenon. We were able to reconnect about 2007, 2008. So we all meet, once a year, usually at my place, because I'm here in Paradise in South Florida, and they come out here and we party and have a good time every year. But there's the first place where I ever felt that I was part of something. And that includes family, high school sports, high school, anything. I wasn't a loner. I was always quote unquote popular and liked, but there was a huge facade that went on from the Navy, got out, started personal training people, and started in the real estate business. And that's what I do for my day job as a realtor. I printed money in the early 2000s, was making money that I didn't even have to try. Did not listen to my advisors. Lost everything in 2009 when the market crashed. My little brother stuck a gun in his mouth, killed himself. So I was really lost. And that's when somebody handed me a book, The Traveler's Gift, and said, read this and join our group, because we were a group of basically misfit toys, and started joining them. And then I learned that I was doing everything not in the service of others. I was doing it for me because I had a huge chip on my shoulder. Even when I was printing money, Bodie, that's what I did, man. I did it all for Fergie. That was it. And then in 2009, 2010, I started really being a go-giver and doing what I love in the service of people that love what I do. And it just changed everything, really gave me a turnaround. And that's basically and that's when I started Time to Shine Today in 2010. And that's a little 30,000 foot view, brother. So sorry to be long, but I like to preface everything with the story because it makes sense going forward.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And, one of the first questions I was going to ask you is, talk to us about the importance of when you joined the Navy, because you said that was the first time of, acceptance and probably stability at that point in your life. How much did that mean to you, that experience?
Man, everything, man. And it still does. And the funny thing is, man, and you can attest to this, is that, when I went in the military, it was 1990. Yeah. And at the time, there was really no draft. Gulf War was about to get started. There was no draft, didn't have to. So most of the people who went in the military, Bodie, were misfits. I mean, people, like, they go in front of the judge and they say, you can go do 2 to 4 years in the military, you can go to jail. So we had those kind of people in boot camp. I was from a middle-class white neighborhood, Plymouth, Michigan, and then you're going down there with people from, the hills of Virginia or the streets of LA and mesh them together. And you, by the end of the 9 or 10 weeks of boot camp, you're marching in cadence, you do anything for that person. And that's what instilled, wow, there's a belonging. And it was just fantastic, brother. And then obviously it teaches you discipline and responsibility. And that's where I have to this day, even which you went through my protocol for my podcast and stuff like that. I'm boom, 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 boom. Everything's protocol. Yeah. And that's how I live my life.
And when you decided to part ways from the military, everybody has that crossroad where they're like, what do I stay in? Do I get out? Do I, even people that retire, it's like, oh gosh, what am I going to do next? What was it that drove you towards real estate?
I was really into fitness and whatnot at the time. So I got out, before I got out of the military, and the only reason why I got out is I married my high school sweetheart. She's like, Scott, can we please go home to Michigan? Blah, blah. And we went home divorced, and we're still best friends to this day. Because we grew up together since we were really young. But like the personal training turned into, I was training a lot of people of wealth. And basically I was personal training and bouncing at night at a bar. And when I had personal training in the morning, people of wealth, that had wealth, came in, and I would always talk to them like, hey man, after I was done bouncing, I watched this Carlton Sheets No Money Down commercial on television, late night television. They're like, that's BS. That's not how it works. And a gentleman named Gary Shapiro, he's like, listen, just go out and find a property. Go bird dog for me. Find me a property. If it works, great. And that's basically how it happened. I mean, it was like Gordon Gekko and Charlie Sheen moments, if you ever saw Wall Street, where I would hand him a property and he'd be like, that's a dog with fleas. That's a dog with different fleas. And finally, like, we found our first one, and that's where it launched. And I was like, you know what? I would love to help other people in real estate. Man, I'm paid 3% a transaction. That's a ton of money. If you really think about it, you sell something for 200,000, you're making $6,000. I mean, come on. So I was like, oh, this is easy. So eventually, I dropped bouncing altogether, and I phased out of personal training, which my company was called Time to Shine, believe it or not, and phased that out, sold it, which the gentleman that took it over is still doing phenomenal with it. And, real estate is what it is since 1999.
Yeah. And greed is good from Wall Street.
Yeah, it is, baby. I'm just kidding. It's not.
So, to kind of talk about kind of a darker moment, you mentioned two things. And first of all, my condolences about your brother.
I appreciate it.
Hearing about that news. And thank you for opening up and sharing that as well. So talk to us about the 2009 with, the financial issues that you had to struggle. And then, hearing the unfortunate news about your brother, like, people go through stuff like that and could be listening to the show who've gone through something like that. How are you so positive today after everything that you experienced, looking back now, 13 years ago or so?
Well, it's surrounding myself with the right people is one, but two, I'm coach. I have a lot of coaches in my life and that I trust. And I have like 4 coaches that, and I invest in myself with those coaches. And, I'm told that, in your car, you have a windshield that's huge and you have a rearview mirror that's small. And a lot of people live in that rearview mirror and pull those bad things forward. Me, I've learned through the past 12 years or so to pull all the good things forward and to step on the stuff that doesn't make any sense, or step on the stuff that I feel like I'm hurting. Not that I don't hurt, but I just choose not to acknowledge the bad times. I have people that I can go and talk to about them at, the mental hygiene and VA, or for just friends that have maybe went through abandonment in deaths and stuff like that, or losing their jobs or businesses and stuff. So, I have just surrounded myself with just a fantastic mastermind of people that we don't allow each other to get down. And if we are, then we have the talk, we're not jerks about it. Like, dude, spill, and this is what we're going to do to move forward. And a lot of it, I leave on the jiu-jitsu mat every morning. You can find me at Gamblers Jiu-Jitsu in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, 6 a.m., 6 mornings a week. And I leave a lot of stuff there. Jiu-jitsu's life, have a guy my size laying on top of you for, freaking minutes upon minutes and figuring out how to get out of it. And there's always a way. That's life. So I leave a lot of my stuff there, a lot of blood, sweat, tears, injuries, and whatnot. I leave there on the mats, but I just choose to pull forward what I choose to pull forward. And I journal every friggin' day. Every day I'm journaling.
I like what you said. I'm picking little pieces up. You're talking about like your spiritual piece with the journaling, and talking about your social piece as well with the people you surround yourself with, and then the physical aspect of getting out there and working out. I think all three of those are very, very important. I've been through something, two traumatic experiences as well, losing my father, and then losing my sister as well. And I like what you said about I appreciate it. I like what you said about the rear view mirror. Still look forward. You only glance at that rear view mirror every now and then, because you never forget about that stuff. But if you stay too focused on it, you're going to crash.
Right. Absolutely.
So throughout, before we get into Time to Shine, like looking back at your upbringings, I mean, it's an incredible story from where you are here today. What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself?
Biggest thing I learned about myself is fear nothing and do it scared.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because for me to went through what I went through and still decide to progress and thrive and not just survive. That's really the thing that I picked up, man. I'm very disciplined. I'm very take responsibility for everything, good and bad. Even when I was younger, I take responsibility for that because it's my choice now and how to respond to it. I mean, responsibility, Bodie, is just the ability to respond. That's all it is. It's rooted in the word, bro. So it's like I take responsibility for everything. So if I start feeling something from my past or the abandonment, I can respond to it any way I want now. That's my thing, man. And it's not a facade. It's not fake. It's just like, dude, this is what I live. We're here for a very short time. That's it. And I want to just make the best out of it all. Period. Yeah.
So now tell us about Time to Shine podcast.
Is that a podcast? I'm kidding. It's Time to Shine Today podcast, man. I started it December 19th of 2019. And basically it's a parlay off of Time to Shine Today website, coaching business. And what I have is I'm an affiliate marketer by trade. So right now, the way I've worked it up, I got like 92,000 subscribers. I got, I'm looking at the Atlantic Ocean right now, and on my left is a whole room full of swag that companies send me that help level up health, wealth, and mindset. I get a bunch of free stuff. And I'm able to go through, do product reviews, send it out to my list of over 90,000 subscribers, give them a great deal on it. And then they pay me affiliate commission for sending it. And if nobody's really familiar with affiliate marketing, just pretend, a McDonald's owner, does not own McDonald's, the name, and doesn't own the burgers or own the real estate. They own the rights to sell McDonald's. So I own the rights to sell product. And so people are like, Ferg, we want to hear more about it. So I started doing a podcast. And I did it. And I was like, wait a minute, man, I'm only talking about me and my company and how I level up. Why don't I get other people to come in and teach my listeners how to level up? And from there, I interviewed 212 people so far. We just went over 500,000 downloads. I'm coming on Sirius XM radio next month. I got a fantastic, following with it. But I give till it hurts so good. And again, I do what I love in the service of people that love what I do. And that's all about us, man. At Time to Shine Today is we give. So even when I'm selling a product, I'm selling it at such a steep discount that people are getting deals, for a lack of a better term. They're getting value for what they have. And that's me, man. And I do it for the intention and not the attention. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my intention is, bro, to give till it hurts so good for me. And that's what I do, bro. That's that Time to Shine Today. And the podcast is an awesome platform because there's only 1 million podcasts and over 850 or 900,000 of them are ghost podcasts, meaning they do 1 or 2 episodes. We're dropping 3 to 4 to 5 a week sometimes. So that's where we're consistent. We love what we do with it, and we give phenomenal value. And I set the podcast, Bodie, up on an affiliate platform where I want to bring people in because I'm an executive coach. I only coach 5 clients, a one-on-one, and they're all like a couple Fortune 100s. I have a Major League Baseball player. I'm blessed to have built my coaching business, but I don't want to have anyone to feel like they have no one. That's our credo. That's our tagline. That's from my past of having abandonment and whatnot. So people will call in and say, hey, I want to meet Bodie, or I want to meet Todd Cohen or Bob Berg or somebody that I've interviewed. And what I do is I put those people with them and that person pays an affiliate commission to Time to Shine Today. So not only if I give my person exposure, that person gave phenomenal content, a free masterclass, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
And we get paid in the end. So it's and I'm fully sponsored. I can say I get $275 an episode from various companies. So it has a life of itself. It works, and because I did it in the service of others. I didn't do it just for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome too. I like the intention versus attention piece.
Exactly.
And then also what you said is, something I learned when I started doing mine was that most don't make it. I heard like the magic number is like 8. Once you get past 8 episodes, you're pretty good from that point forward. But there's millions out there, but there's only like a select few that are still up and running. So, and that's amazing. Y'all have sustainment as long as you do.
Yeah, we love it, man.
That speaks volumes right there. Biggest struggle that you had to endure through this whole pandemic?
This pandemic? Mm-hmm. 0. And I'm not even saying the biggest struggle I had was not being asked how I'd like my steak prepared for me. That's the only struggle I have. And once I looked at it, because it went through 2009, I said I will never be unprepared. So I always keep money in the bank, keep real money in a safe, gold coins, all that jazz that I was told to do by my mentors. So financially, it was never an issue. Even mentally, I looked at it as like, man, this is a break. And I can ramp up my podcast to the point because nobody's going to be doing anything. So my challenge really was, man, I like going stir crazy. I was missing the mat with my team, but, off the record, we had
that was your biggest challenge.
We had our speakeasies, mats that we go and still roll and get it done. But, that I really did not have that at all. And I'm not saying it to say, oh, it was easy, because it wasn't easy. But at the same time, I've been through much harder. And if sitting at home and binge watching when I wanted to at night and working when I wanted to in the day is a bad life, I don't think that's that bad. It was nice.
What do you want your legacy to be 50 years from now? When somebody mentions Scott Ferguson, Time to Shine Today podcast, everything that you've been doing, what do you want them to say about you?
They're going to say that I did it for the intention and not the intention, but they're also going to say I'm obsolete as hell. And what I mean by that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the bomb was dropped, and it was dropped by a B-52 bomber. You look at that B-52 and you look at the B-1 now, I think it's the B-1. You know better than me with the Air Force, but it's obsolete, right? What I'm doing is I'm planting the seeds. Okay. And I know that I will never sit in the shade of the tree that I planted. And I'm good with that. And that's how I want to be remembered, period. That's it. I want to be like, you look at like Sigmund Freud, he's a great psychologist, but people don't really remember what he said. He just remember he was good. And that's how I remember is Fergie touched people's lives, did everything scared, just did it. But he went through, got his ask in gear and asked when he needed to. And he provided mentoring to everybody that needed it. The more you mentor, the more immortal you become, right? So I mentored, but I'm also obsolete. I'm like, hey, what he did is nice. Next, but that's how I want to be remembered.
I like that. Plant the seeds, but don't sit in the shade.
You're never going to, bro, if you plant enough. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. If people want to find out more about you, your podcast, or anything that you're doing, where can we point them to?
TimeToShineToday.com/podcast. That's where we run everything on our site. We don't do much else. I used to blog a lot and all that stuff. Things taken care of with the podcast. So yeah, that's where everyone can find me. They can dial us direct at area code 561-440-3830, and you'll get an actual human being answering the phone and being able to rock and roll. And if we don't, there'll be a nice answer machine with our today's date, so you know that we're there, present, and ready to rock.
Nice. Yeah, we're definitely going to have the link for the podcast on here for the episode description. So regardless of what platform you're listening to or YouTube, it's going to be listed in the description for this episode as well. Sir, what final comments do you have for our listeners?
Don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive. Have fun, bro. Let's just get after it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy with everything you're doing over there on your end, but appreciate having you here on the Shadows podcast. And that is going to conclude this episode. See y'all next week.